Welcome, everybody, to the Learn Alpha podcast. I'm Van.
And I'm Derek. And tonight we have with us a very special guest, the Sheriff of Jackson County, John Ledbetter.
I appreciate it. Thank you all for having me. Thank you for the invite.
Well, it's an honor to have you here. We've had a lot of law enforcement guests here on the show and a lot of those type personalities, but it's really nice to have the top law enforcement officer from Jackson County here. So that's a big up for us.
Well, it's good to be here.
Yep, absolutely. No, but when you just got here, I was watching about the New York thing, and I have friends that live all over the country. Throughout the years I've met and been friends with, and they always ask why I live in Mississippi. And living in Jackson County is one of those things. Yes, we have crime and stuff like that, but we also have a safer community. We have a sheriff's department that cares about the people. We have a DA that goes after hardened criminals. And just watching what's going on in New York, I can't comprehend why you would want to even go to someplace like that. You don't feel safe. I wouldn't feel safe.
Well, we still got some rhyme and reason going on there. You saw today that the Daniel Penny was acquitted, so there's still people out there. I think the squeakiest wheel gets the oil, and so the people who are causing most of the problems are getting most of the media attention. There's still reasonable people out there that want law enforcement, that want law and order, that want things to go right. So
I've said this a lot, and I'll say it again. We're very blessed to live in the community that we live in Jackson County. We've got not only good law enforcement with the cities, county, but we have good partnerships with our federal and state partners too. I do know folks that are law enforcement officers in metro cities. They don't have it as good. They don't have the support system that we have coming back from our community,
right?
Like we do. They don't have that. So we're very blessed to have that in Jackson County.
For sure.
And I know we've all traveled, but I've been all over the world, and I chose to raise my children right back here because of what I experienced growing up here. It's just a great place to be.
And that's how I feel, but one of those things that people who don't live here don't understand that.
Yeah.
They can lock their car in the driveway, but then the criminals come up with these Wi-Fi blockers, block their camera system from communicating, and use a relay to start their $50,000 truck in the driveway and drive off with it. And they're like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
Well, the criminals aren't being prosecuted in those towns and those cities. And so why would a criminal stop doing stuff like that,
You're right. Well, Sheriff, give us a little intro on how you got to be where you are, what your kind of background is, and what made you want to be where you are.
Okay, well, I was born and raised in Jackson County, and how I got here is, number one, by the grace of God. Number two, by a lot of help from others, not only in the field of law enforcement, but in the community that I've befriended, that I've grown to know and trust throughout my lifetime, that have got me here today. And I'm successful for those core groups of people where I've got here today. I'd say I'm from Pascagoula. When I was born, we lived in Hurley.
Right.
When about 1984, house fire took our house, so we moved to Pascagoula. So right about the time that I started school. So I went through my whole time in school, city of Pascagoula School District. So, and lived in Pascagoula. I don't know if you know right where Cherokee Elementary School is on Scoville Avenue. I lived there for years and years, all the way up through high school. Graduated in 1997 from Pascagoula High School. Didn't know at that time what I wanted to do. That I wanted to go in law enforcement. I was still searching for something to do. So my law enforcement story, the story of my career, didn't start with that. I've always wanted to do this or take this path. I was still searching at some points in my life, but I got an opportunity to go to college. Got a scholarship to William Carey College. It's William Carey University now, so big university.
Right.
But it was a great place to go to school, so I attempted to go there. And when I say attempted, it wasn't because of grades or anything. It was because of funds.
Yeah.
Even though I got a scholarship to go there, it was still quite expensive to afford. And unlike other universities and colleges, this particular one was on a trimester system. So that means every 10 weeks you change courses, you change your class schedule. That also meant every 10 weeks you had to come up with the funds to pay for your next trimester.
Right.
So while there, I think my major was finance and economics under a business administration degree. So I learned after the first 2 trimesters that how poor I was. And I said, you know what? I need to rethink this. I mean, if I'm going to accomplish this, how am I going to do it? So I needed to. I took a break and I came back, and I got a phone call. I came back to go to work to pay for school. So I got a phone call from a local bricklayer that needed some assistance, and as a helper. I don't know if you're familiar with being a mason's helper.
Oh, that's
I didn't know that at the time until the first day that I showed up to
About
work.
to get strong.
Yeah, first. And it was tough work. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about hard work. It wasn't my first job. Back up a little bit. My first job was the old Jerry Lee's in Pascagoula.
Now Ramey
which
Lee's.
is now Ramey Lee's.
Lee's.
So I got and I wanted to go to work. Back at those points, when I turned a certain age, I was ready to fill out a job application and go to work somewhere, just because that's what I saw growing up. Folks that worked hard.
That was your example.
That by my family's example and others around me. That's what you did, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to work because I was without wheels. I needed a car.
Yeah.
Eventually, it took a while to get it, and I think the minimum wage was $4.25 when I started working.
I remember
so
that well.
That wasn't going to get you the cars that I was looking at in the classified section of the Mississippi Press.
It'd get you a vet, but
There
it'd
wasn't
be a
no
shove
picture.
vet.
Yeah.
Shove it.
But I had several jobs up until then. But the brick mason's laborer was eye-opening and hard work, especially during the summertime.
Imagine that taught you some respect for folks too.
It did. Hot summers, hot summers, a lot of manual labor, but I enjoyed it. And I was very young back then, 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
So you bounced back from that.
Yeah, doing it today would be a lot different. But it taught me the value of hard work, doing something, earning money. And in one particular summer, I had the opportunity to purchase, with the money that I saved, it was a choice. Whether do I go back to school and pay for the next term in school, or do I trade in my truck and get this muscle car that this guy's got for sale, 1967 Chevelle Super Sport. And
That's a serious decision.
Yeah, that was a serious decision with some money that I had. But I noticed I do not have that car, nor did I ever have that car. So
You made the right decision.
to this day I haven't finished school yet. Also,
Oh, okay.
I didn't complete it, but several hours towards a bachelor's degree, and I decided to move back to Pascagoula and find a job doing something, going to work. So I looked at law enforcement, and that's back. Once again, I'll go back to the classified section of a newspaper.
Yeah.
Deputy Sheriff, Jackson County, Mississippi. I applied with the City of Pascagoula Police Department and the Sheriff's Office. And the first job that I had in law enforcement was at the county jail in 2001. So that's quite a change from mixing mortar in a mortar mixer to going to work at the jail.
Oh, yeah.
That was my first law enforcement experience. And for clarification, my grandfather was the sheriff from 1976 to 1984. But the conversations that he and I had during my early years, and he passed away when I was a senior in high school. So those conversations did not revolve around law enforcement.
Right.
And nor did I specifically have an interest in that during that time of my life. So that was my grandfather. That was we did things together. We fished. We helped him with the garden, things like that. Planted, rode a tractor. He lived next door to me, so I was constantly over at his house visiting. But the conversations never involved anything in law enforcement in his career. Those things I learned later on from others that I'd met down the road that knew him and had worked for him and with him, and they expressed those things to me. That's how I learned a lot, and about articles and pictures from years ago.
Fun fact, real quick. I was given some old stuff of my dad's, and I got a John Ledbetter, his grandfather's commission for my dad, Dale Welton. I took a picture of it because I got a John Ledbetter commission from the grandson for me.
That's awesome.
Sitting next to each other. So that was a pretty cool little coincidence.
I've
there.
seen a lot of those. A lot of people have brought those to my attention in recent years. That's neat. And matter of fact, his signature looks a lot like my signature. Somebody has showed me that. So,
So he taught you man lessons, but just not about law enforcement.
Yeah.
And he was in law enforcement. My dad was not in law enforcement. He retired from Ingalls, but he was a strong presence in my life, and so was my grandfather, and uncles, things like that. Those guys were really influential in making me who I am. Not only family members too, but I was brought up by not only a godly family. I was a member of a church that was very good and very nurturing, and some strong examples in the church that I looked up to.
That good fellowship
Yeah.
and apprenticeship and
Folks that were true, real folks that you looked towards, and they may not have known that, but I looked at them to be greater than life. They set an example. They set the bar high, and that's something that I always strive to meet that standard.
meet that standard
Yeah.
for younger guys
Yeah.
that do the same to you. It's important, and that's why we have a Learned Alpha podcast, because we don't learn those traits from just one person most of the time.
No, it's
A collective.
I agree with that, 100%. So at this time that I'm exploring law enforcement, a few of my friends from high school that I reconnected with were in the field of law enforcement at this time. So I thought about giving it a shot. Let me see if I think I can do this. I really think I can. And we all say during those first interviews, because we're interviewed by administration, why do you want to do this? And of course, the standard answer, and we still get some of those answers today, was, I really want to help people. And deep down, that's true, don't get me wrong, but I think the top answer, and Derek, correct me if I'm wrong on this, we wanted to turn blue lights on, we wanted to drive a car, we wanted to put on a uniform, put on a badge, wear a gun belt, and fit in that role of what we've seen in the past. We wanted to, somebody had set an example early for us that made us want to get into this profession, and we didn't know what all was entailed in the career until we got there.
Oh yeah.
Until something clicked, and then you see and you understand this is why we're in this profession. So of course, yeah, I gave the answer.
I want to help people.
Want to help people. I think I could do this, do a good job. Yeah, and that deep down, that's correct. But there's a little bit of selfishness in there about wanting to do that, and I can't speak for everyone. That was just for my experience.
Yeah.
Getting some personal satisfaction
Yeah.
out of being a good police officer or a good deputy, I don't think that's anything to be ashamed of.
No.
It just doesn't sound real good on an interview when
No.
you say, I want to drive fast, shoot guns,
Yeah.
guys, you know what I mean? So,
But
Sergeant's like, you're helping that guy really good.
I wouldn't go back and change. I'd change some things. I wouldn't lie. But, I think the path that got me here, things change. There are a lot of different niches in law enforcement.
Oh, yeah.
Derek's really good at firearms. He's a great instructor. I worked patrol for a few years. I worked traffic for a few years. When I eventually moved from the sheriff's office working at the jail as a deputy to Pascagoula. It happened the same year, 2001. So I started at the bottom. A lot of my time has been in administration, law enforcement, and that takes a different set of skills and understanding to work that.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with a changing workforce.
Oh, yeah.
Over the years, especially with ups and downs in a workforce where you're trying to recruit folks to stay in the business and to attract people to want to do this and express to them the importance and that this is not only just a job, this is and not only a career, it's something that you're called to do, in my opinion. There have been several throughout the years that I've seen that have tried to get out and go do something else. And they always come back to law enforcement, the sheriff's office, or a police department to make a difference in their community. They can't shake it. They can't get away from it.
Yeah.
And I've seen that several times throughout the years.
So everybody had who's had a long career has had a favorite assignment. Personally for me, I really enjoyed my time as a K-9 handler. Would you say that your time in the traffic division, was that your favorite time as a young officer? Or what was?
I've looked back on that, and I think every assignment that I've had, there have been something significant that really stands out in everything I've done. And I wouldn't say that I've had a favorite.
Okay,
but
that's fair.
I'll explain that to some extent. Patrol, that was and always will be the backbone of any law enforcement agency.
100%.
You're in the field, boots on the ground, doing the work. So many different things to see, to accomplish, to experience with your time on patrol, whether it be with the city or a county.
A lot of variety there.
It is.
I used to love catching those dome lights on about 3:30 in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, just like, hold up.
I think during my patrol time was when I had a captain that really, on night shift, you didn't stop cars, you checked buildings.
Yep.
You did what you could
neighborhoods.
to catch a burglar.
Yep.
And the first time that you actually caught somebody coming out of a building and charged them with burglary, you wanted to do that every night. You wanted to check your buildings, check doors. So, and that's something that still needs to happen.
Oh yeah.
There's so much more technology now. People have cameras, ring door cameras. The business surveillance cameras are so much better than they used to be. And now that you can get an alert on your phone or a notification that something's not right at your business or your home, and alert the police. And, they've always had the alarm systems, but sometimes there's a several minute delay on the old call-in alarm system, or that alarm that you check over and over again every night at a certain time.
Or if the wind's
triggers an alarm,
blowing 15 miles an hour out of the east, that building's going to go off.
If there's a thunderstorm, there's going to be alarm systems that go off. But anyway, getting back to your original question, and in the traffic division, I was assigned to the traffic division for 4 years, where I took a motorcycle rider's course, and that was before and after Hurricane Katrina, is those times that I've done that. And we worked wrecks. We wrote tickets, we worked wrecks, we did funeral escorts. After Katrina, as you remember, President George W. Bush came to the coast several times. And on a couple of those occasions, he came to our area, and I was a part of a presidential escort from Ocean Springs to Goshen. I think that was 2006, first part of 2006. And of course, I didn't get close enough to meet him. They just said, all right, we need to get him from here to here. We're not stopping.
Yeah.
If somebody lays that motorcycle down, get out of the way because we're not going to stop. So that was a good experience, very memorable. Several law enforcement agencies around the area helped. The sheriff's office, Pascagoula PD, all the city police departments assisted with that. And of course, we didn't get to meet him or get an autograph or a picture, but we were a part of that, something that's memorable. But
You never did traffic, did you?
No, I was assigned to traffic while I was K-9 officer, so I did a lot of the details. I did a lot of the escorts and stuff like that, but the only motorcycle riding I've done has been on the personal side, not on the professional side.
That's one of the best courses you can do in law enforcement.
Yeah.
I promise you. After day 7, being out there, 880-pound Harley, it changes your whole perspective on what's possible.
I'm a big fan of deadlifts, so
yeah.
Well, you
Well, now they've extended that course. It's a 2-week course now,
really?
and I went through that course in 2004 in a week's time. And I think I'd mentally convinced myself about Wednesday or Thursday morning that I don't know if I'm going to make it through this because this is very physically demanding. And it was raining on the day that I had to qualify and go through the course. So, but I made it. It was very physically demanding, as I said. It was tough.
I think I went through in August.
see, that's never made sense to me because now,
It was a long, hot week.
the sheriff's department, we used to have to schedule our range time around the Pascagoula Police Department's schedule because it's their range and we were using their range. And now we have our own range, so we schedule our annual qualifications for like April, and we schedule our night qualifications for November after the time change where it's kind of cool and no
Right.
mosquitoes. And I never really understood why traffic waits until the middle of summer to get on a tarmac and run a course.
Wow.
And I asked one of them one time, one of the instructors, and he said if they can gut out this course in June or July, then they'll be able to handle working in traffic division. They'll be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, there was days where, I wanted to go get in the car and park the bike, but it's part of it, man. I just had to change my vest carrier out every 2 days because I had to wash it all the time.
Yeah.
And another thing in traffic, at Pascagoula, our court day was Wednesday. And we worked during the day, and during court time, we could get any seat in court that we wanted to. That's because we were out sweating and stinking so much. We'd come in that courtroom and start standing around, and you'd have people move out of the way. You get out there, you have a seat now. During a change in administration in Pascagoula about 2007, into 2007, I got the opportunity to be a part of a group, be a sergeant in a group that was basically a proactive patrol unit that worked not necessarily a shift, but during peak hours of criminal activity, which is evening time, and stayed on that for 2 years. And that was another highlight of my career. But it was a different kind of work. It wasn't the traffic work, the riding a motorcycle, doing the parades, things like that. This was working, learning what the bad guys were doing, learning who's selling drugs in what certain areas, then going after, formulating a plan, getting your team together, and targeting those specific areas to rid the city of crime, or work those certain areas until you either get a search warrant or make several arrests, do checkpoints in a certain area just to make a difference. So that kind of work, a change of speed, but very, very beneficial. Opened your eyes quite a bit.
And then on the, how much time we got?
We got about 5 minutes.
All right, so on the administrative side, though, it's not just having to worry about everybody underneath you. You kind of also have to worry, not necessarily for your department being a county department, but let's say a municipality, if you're an admin, you have to worry about all the aldermen, the mayor. You're like in that middle ground. So you're trying to, I guess, keep both sides of it on an even scale, right?
I would say that's the case, especially for city government.
Yeah.
But working in the sheriff's office is a little different.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks think it's so much more political working in a sheriff's office because the sheriff is an elected official. But my experience working in the sheriff's office compared to
A municipality.
I think it functions more effectively as a sheriff's office.
Well, as an elected official, you would know more than I would about this, but I heard a saying that I think applies directly to what you're saying. A sheriff runs for office every 4 years. A police chief who's an at-will employee that works for a mayor and city council runs for his office every day. Is that pretty accurate?
Maybe for some areas, I think. Like I said, we're very blessed to live in the area that we do. I think we have some really good police leadership and have over past leaders for the past several years. But I can't speak directly on that since I've never sat in that seat. I've only witnessed it from the outside looking in or from a subordinate looking up. But speaking on that, we have a very good relationship with all the police chiefs in our area, all the 4 municipalities, and with the cities that are outside of Jackson County and other law enforcement that are outside of the county. But that's my opinion. I like it better as a sheriff's office. And there's 82 counties in Mississippi. And by law, the duties of the sheriff in each county are the same thing. But they operate totally different.
Right.
You know, you can't take a sheriff from down south and put them up in Issaquah County and expect them to operate exactly the same. The politics are different. The people are different. And that's part of what makes Mississippi what it is. But having a relationship with those other sheriffs within the Sheriff's Association that I've come to learn is it's valuable. You get to learn different perspectives, what they do on a day-to-day basis, or some issues that they may have that they may reach out to you for a certain piece of advice or a question. And then the same thing, I may reach out to another sheriff that may have had this same situation happen in the north part of the state, you know. So it's different. Sheriff is part of the community.
Right.
And is elected by the folks of Jackson County. And it goes for the rest of the counties in the state too. So.
Well, I got a question I've been dying to ask you.
Okay.
So I've heard you talk, and those of y'all out there listening, you know, Sheriff and I have known each other for many, many years, and I know a lot about him. But I just never knew or never heard you say at what point you said, I want to be the sheriff. I want to be the sheriff of Jackson County, and then what steps did you take to move in that direction? How long did that take?
I don't even know if I can document that exact point. Truthfully, backing up over my career, I mean, I've heard people ask me for several years, when are you going to run for sheriff? When are you going to be the sheriff? I was like, I'm not there yet. I didn't want to.
You didn't want to
jump in too early to do this. I wanted to get some experience and have a good career in law enforcement. And it was early on that I decided not to just make this a temporary job, but a career, which I think right now at the first of next year, it'll be 24 years in law enforcement. But I can't think of a certain point that I'd say, yes, I am running for sheriff. But success, and not just in this, but I think you've got to get out of your comfort zone in order to achieve success in certain things in life. So, and what I mean by that is I've never been in any situation that it's all about me. But if you take on the role of a politician, which while campaigning I had to do because this is an elected position, You had to do that. You had to sell yourself. You had to step out of your comfort zone of, always trying to do for others and putting somebody else in the spotlight. You had to focus on yourself. I had to wear my name on my shirt and print signs up with my name on them and put them all over the county. But
being humble,
you had to do
being
that.
humble, that's hard, right?
Yeah.
It was difficult to do that. But what I'm most grateful and humbled for, and I'll tell you about an experience in just a minute. I'm grateful and I'm humbled for the amount of support that I've had throughout the county. Which of course, up until the election day, it's all uncertain. You're listening to what others are saying. You're out there working strategically to do certain things to get votes for yourself on election day. You're doing certain things. You're speaking to certain groups, making certain appearances, things like that, on top of doing your job. But at the end, the folks that actually helped you with not expecting anything in return, which there are so many. And some people think that, well, if they're doing this for you, they want something from you. That is really not necessarily the case. And you really get to see that side of a lot of people in our community that just help you out of the goodness of their heart because they want to. They believe in you. They believe in your organization, and they want to help. And at the end, when that happened, it was probably a humbling experience like I can't describe. Have these folks that are around me now, the focus is on me, and I'm uncomfortable with it being all on me.
Right.
But I'm grateful and I'm humble beyond words. That's how I can describe that. And I don't think I've ever expressed that to anybody. Only a very few people involved in the campaign process. But that's something I had to do. A comfort zone I had to get out of instead of just coming to work, knowing what I had to do to get a job accomplished. But it also gave me a bird's eye view of what a sheriff is supposed to do.
Right.
Has to take care of the folks in the county.
Well, that's why you had so much support, because
You got to.
if you're successful, we as a county is successful.
Exactly. There's a lot of things that if you have a strong law enforcement agency, public safety, public protection of assets, buildings, or whatever, and you've got the number of folks that you need on a shift, if you've got the units functioning like they should, from investigations to traffic to patrol to your court security division, everything is functioning at a high level, and you maintain it that way, that helps other things in the county, like economic development. It would in schools.
Right.
Folks would want to move here because the crime is not outrageous, or this neighborhood is safe. They want to move here, and that's really happening on the west side of the county. Look how many thousands of homes have been built and are being built as of recent. So,
well, that's what I was saying at the beginning of the podcast. That's something that the average person might not think about, but at the end of the day, as they're sitting in Jackson County and they came here from somewhere else, that is a huge determining factor of why they did.
Yeah.
For sure, 100%.
Especially the business, because, if I'm an investor with a pocket full of money, I'm in the business to make money, right? Mm-hmm. It's not a charity. So am I going to go somewhere where my assets aren't going to be safe, or am I going to, and take a risk, or am I going to go somewhere where I know I can take care of my things and other people will help me? So
it definitely makes a difference.
And you get to meet so many people. You know how many folks out there, from knocking on their doors, have Ring door cameras on their front porch, because I came across several of them. And looking at where people come from. The new residents in Jackson County, the out-of-state tags, the out-of-county tags that are moved in from the Pacific Northwest and from northern counties in Mississippi, Florida, Texas, and they're not all brought here from military.
No.
A lot of folks are working from home too, and
they want a quiet place to raise their kids and stuff.
They want good school districts and good neighborhoods and safe places to live.
I've come across a lot of older people that are coming here to retire here.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to Florida anymore because there's too many people and it's gotten too expensive with insurance. They're all moving here because, I mean, we live in a beautiful place and it's a lot safer than the rest of the country. That's how I see it.
And every part of the county is so different too.
Oh, yeah.
And we've got a really good county, you know. And I've got to know a lot of people from every different area, every different community of the county. So it's
A lot of people don't realize it, but you know, St. Martin, being an unincorporated area, is bigger than any of our cities.
yeah.
Pascagoula, I think last census, 24,000 people laid their head down there every night, and last census St. Martin, 28,000 was laying their head down.
I think between Gulf Hills, St. Martin, and Latimer area, right there, I think you're well over 30 to 35,000, 32,000, give or take. I may be wrong, but and a lot of traffic coming through there because of the interstate also.
Oh, yeah.
So all unincorporated area that we cover on a patrol basis.
I don't get to get out into the neighborhoods as much anymore, but every time I go into Gulf Park Estates or every time I go into St. Martin, I run across a new neighborhood being built.
Well, oh, yeah. Especially out
Yeah.
there south of the high school. It is unreal, man. Going forward for you, what do you think is like one of your biggest goals as sheriff? Like, what would you, in running again, getting elected again, and having more time to accomplish more things, what would you say is your top priority?
We discuss this quite a bit, you know, as far as my top priority. At one point in the future, and I can't say when, and this is a building priority. I think that the sheriff's office, not the courthouse or anything, but a different building to operate out of for a lot of the sheriff's operations. I'd like to see a long-term plan for that to be moved north of the railroad tracks and out of a flood zone.
Yeah.
Because only we know, especially our dispatchers know, when a tropical storm or a hurricane comes in, and the central point of operation for our communications is south of the railroad tracks in Pascagoula, there's a high potential for flooding, and getting our employees back and forth there instead of spending the night in a courtroom or things like that, or the potential of not only the power being out, but a generator potentially going down there. That's where our operations is, and everything is, all the businesses are shut down, even the Waffle Houses.
That's when you know it's serious.
Yeah, and everybody's north, everybody's out of town, and we got to still function and maintain communications and answer the calls for service in the county during those times. So having moving portions of our operations into a facility that's of modern times, I think that's something that I'm in the works with speaking with the right folks to make that happen, to get us in a building or a structure that's going to last us another 75 years, because the courthouse is 75 years old this year, and it was built in '49. So something that's functional. In 1949, the jail was on the 4th floor. The sheriff lived on the 3rd floor.
Wow.
And the sheriff was also the tax collector. So, and the office that I have on the ground floor of the courthouse was a juvenile jail cell. So things have changed in Jackson County over the years, and I think we need to really think forward and see how, number one, how the sheriff's office has grown in numbers and employees since the courthouse was built.
Right.
That's just one plan. We also recently, with the help of the Board of Supervisors, were able to look at our salaries of our boots on the ground, of our deputies, and compare it to the region and adjust our pay scale to be more competitive and to pay our employees, our deputies, more money which I think is a drawing point to bring folks in to fill those vacancies.
And a retention point for the
Yeah.
guys that are already there.
To keep them from going somewhere else. Like we've had an investigator that was trying to be drawn away to another agency for a very large pay increase. So we were able to maintain him and keep him there with the help of our board of supervisors and working together to get the budget adjusted so we could make that possible. So something that we worked on for a few months is recently passed. So
That's fantastic.
but the main thing, looking at our folks are the most important asset. It should be with any agency or any organization, making sure they get taken care of. Because if we're functioning right and we're doing our job right, the public's taken care of.
Right.
My opinion. Making sure our employees are taken care of and creating future leaders. Who's going to be, am I hiring the next director or the next captain or director of this unit or whatever? That's kind of where we look at an application. We still sit down the old-fashioned way and look over paper applications and really do a thorough background investigation to make sure that not only the organization is getting the best possible employees, but we've got the best possible deputies and folks out there serving Jackson County or the county. Because down the road, I'm going to retire. I plan to retire in Jackson County. Me and my family are going to stay here and live here. And the folks that I want answering calls when I have to call, or
Right.
if I happen to have to call one day in the future, I want a competent and capable person that I know that I'm going to get the service that we're supposed to have in Jackson County.
Right.
Respond not only in my house, but my family, my neighborhood. So it's kind of the long-term mindset looking down the road.
The old rule of leave it better than you found it.
Yep.
That's always a good way to look at it. Yeah.
When he was talking about the building, I got a little chuckle about it because I wanted to share a little story about 2 hurricanes ago, maybe 3 hurricanes ago. One of the drains that drained water and shunt water away from the courthouse had clogged up, and we were getting probably about 6 inches of water in the bottom floor there on the ground floor. And so me, the sheriff, and about 4 other deputies had a squeegee brigade going on. We had a master key open the janitor's closet and got a bunch of squeegees out, and we were taking turns pushing water to each other down to a sergeant who was pushing it out the door, and we maintained that for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
And when the maintenance guy got there, he's going to remain unnamed on this podcast, it's raining sideways out there, and he shows up and says, "I'm going to go fix it. Does anybody have an umbrella?" I looked at him, I said, "My brother in Christ, there is a hurricane going on out there, and you're going to get wet." You know?
It's going to happen.
I think if I dig on my videos on my phone, I could probably find a video of Derek running that squeegee down the back hall.
We're getting ready for the Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the day after. It had rained so hard. It was just, it was, I think that was the day after, if I'm not mistaken. But that's
Pretty good time.
quite an experience.
Well, that's one of those things that, as a taxpayer, I look and go, our departments are operating in older buildings, right? And you're limited with new technology because of the construction of those old buildings. You're limited at a location.
Yeah.
You constantly have to be thinking forward on those types of things to keep up, really.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be more and more citizens, there's going to be more and more deputies, or there's going to be more and more whatever. And they just have to look forward to those future points.
I'll take this time to say, not only because of Derek's experience with the squeegee that particular year, but, and this is not my doing, this is of sheriffs before me. We've got the best absolute staff at the sheriff's office that I could ever ask for in any unit that there is.
Right.
Because, we're blessed to have who we have and the positions that they're in and the jobs that they're doing. for the most part, everybody works together, knows their role, comes to work with a mindset to work and get tasks completed. And that makes my job a lot easier. And that makes the command staff job easier. There's fires that we have to put out, absolutely, every day, every week, whatever. And there's challenges that we face every day, not only from criminals in the community, but just instances that happen with things that we do within the sheriff's office. And it's good to know that we have competent and capable folks working at the sheriff's office that I don't have to second guess or worry too much about any one situation. That I know if I can go get these answers from someone else in house, we can get this task completed, or we can come up with a solution to the issue pretty quickly.
Right.
And I think they're so talented that we often get folks in different agencies from the outside that are always looking for some answers too, that come to us for some assistance, and we're always willing to step up and help them with their issues too.
One thing I think we're blessed with is consistency.
Yeah,
I
You got to have it.
I know what was expected of me today, and the exact same thing is going to be expected of me tomorrow and the day after that, and that's not going to change. And so keeping that message consistent is just, man, it just makes the stability a whole lot better. So I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, it's very good, and we're when you can come to work every day and you know how to expect things to be a good working environment, and the brotherhood and the family connections that we have as law enforcement officers, it's there. It's not a task just to show up to work every day.
Right.
And I've heard so many folks that are out in different industries and different businesses and have different careers that they don't like getting up and coming to work every morning. And I'm not speaking for everyone at the sheriff's office, but I think most of us have that mindset. We're goal-oriented, task-oriented. We show up ready to do a job, and we have those core folks in each unit, each division that can get the jobs done. And it's just very, very encouraging, I would say.
Yep. All that definitely makes a huge difference when because you don't just get more out of it as a sheriff. Mm-hmm. They themselves get more out of it because, like you said, when you came up, you were getting your experience before you became sheriff and all these different roles. And the better you get at those individual roles, the more you carry that through your career. And so a lot of those people in those positions, when they look up to somebody, whether it's you or somebody else in their life, they're trying to maintain that climb. They don't want to get to a certain point and get knocked down from a stupid decision, so they keep that steady pace. Yeah. And, when you work in a department, like you said, that there's no guessing work to this. You know what you got to do, and just do it the best you can. It makes for a well-oiled machine. And, you don't see that everywhere for sure, not just in Mississippi, but across the country. So,
who would you credit? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
I just want to know who do you think you would credit as far as like your outlook and about life and about work and about all the things that you have gone through. Who do you think you would credit for instilling those values most?
I think it's and during our previous conversation, I was just kind of thinking along those same lines of how everybody has a little piece of somebody that's done something significant.
Right.
That you take this way of doing things from this person and this one from this one. Of course, my dad, my grandfather, my mom, so many different folks that in early years it basically defined your general disposition growing up. But professionally, so many different folks that you run across. It may be your training officer, those that you take a little bit of something that they've shown you and you tuck it away and you remember that down the road. How to treat somebody, how to talk to someone, what to ask, when to ask it, how someone presents themselves, how someone looks sharp in a uniform, how they handle a certain situation that you admire about them. And I want to be like that. He sets a good example, and folks respect him not only within an agency, but they respect him on the street and out in the community because of how he handles himself. And that's you take those bits and pieces, and you learn from them, and you act that way to a certain extent.
Right.
So I'll go back to the comfort zone thing that I was speaking on a few minutes ago. A good friend of mine that I've been friends with since junior high and high school, who's a very successful business person. I sat down with him when I was really getting serious about running for sheriff and trying to get everything in order and lined up. And he was giving me some good pointers as a business professional. And he said, you just be you. And that, as small as a statement as that is, it's very truthful. Don't be somebody. Somebody's going to pick out if you're not being you.
Yeah.
They're going to know, he's putting on, this is not who this person is, but you be you. And that's something that you got to remind yourself of quite often. You do what you're supposed to do and your convictions, and don't try to be somebody else, because you're not. Somebody's going to pick up on it.
Yep.
So if this is out of character for you, don't do it. But those were strong words, and I stuck to that, and it was very meaningful for me. Sticks out to me even today. But
what is one phrase that you've used in your life, kind of like a motto? Our good friend
a motto.
Jason Hamilton was on one of our shows, and he came over last week, and I told him, I said, I still to this day say this all the time: one wire at a time. As an older gentleman that he learned how to wire boats and stuff from when he was younger. It's just a phrase that he's always had in his life, and whether it's good or bad, it's one wire at a time, because you can really only take care of things, that way. So that was just an example. And my dad had sayings too, I just remember those, but
I've got a bunch of them, but most of them I can't say right here.
Yeah, I've heard quite a few over the years, not necessarily from you, but from others that wouldn't be good for social media. Some of the ones that are just generally in law enforcement, like, you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
That was a good phrase. And that's grown to other professions. You can't make this stuff up. Or nothing surprises me anymore.
Yeah.
That's one, some information that you learn. That and being in a command staff setting, you're going to get the information eventually about what's going on. And there's others within an agency or organization that feel like they need to know. You don't need to know. You just want to know.
Right.
But there's certain instances that you come across where you have to say, nothing much surprises me anymore.
Yeah.
It'd be the actions of somebody on the street or out in the county or something like that. But I'm sure if I think long and hard, I could probably pick out some more. So.
Somebody said something to me one time, and it's not necessarily just a phrase. It's more of a general statement. But, supervising people or being in a management position is the same, whether you're, the sheriff or whether you're running a company or whatever. What you're really dealing with is not the issues that business or department's handling. You're really dealing with people's personalities. You're managing people's personalities, and that's the most difficult part of it, I would think.
Managing personalities. And you've got to constantly tell yourself, or others may have to realize that it's not all about them. It's not all about a singular person. It's about the good of the organization for the good of the county in our instance. Okay, and it's not all about one person, but some people think that it may be. But this is a service organization. The Rotary Club, Rotary International, their motto is service above self. And it's a great organization that I'm a part of. But that goes for law enforcement too. We're out there for the benefit of the public. We don't hire folks because they think they're a gift to somebody with a badge and a uniform on and how good they look and or whatever. It's how effective are you in your job serving others.
Well, I'd really like to thank you for being here with us tonight. Taking time out of your busy schedule. I know your phone never stops ringing, but we really appreciate you
completely off. I don't know if it's rang or not.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it, and I hope those that watch definitely get something from it. And
thank you.
A lot of what you said is all important things that younger guys need to hear, that they might not have someone at home that they're learning that from. And so that's one of the big reasons why we do this, and we definitely appreciate you coming on tonight.
Well, thank you.
And in closing, if you were to run across somebody like yourself that wants to be the sheriff one day growing up, what would you tell them? What would be one thing that you would tell them?
Several things. It's what I just said. It's not all about you.
Okay.
It's not only that, but I would need several hours to explain.
Yeah.
This is what to expect. This is what to look out for. This is what you need to do. These are some things that you need to not necessarily accomplish, but things that you need to get out and do yourself in order to get that. And you got to have the right mindset. Your heart's got to be in the right spot to do this. Definitely so. And I had an advantage. I was a chief deputy for 8 years under Mike Ezel. And a lot of folks think that's two similar positions, right? One right under the other. But changing gears, being the sheriff, not having to worry about a lot of those things that I did worry about and had to do as a chief deputy, but making the decisions, being where the buck stops with the sheriff, and relying on a good command staff and a chief deputy to get those jobs done to maintain the day-to-day operations of the department.
It takes a village.
Awesome.
Well, thank you guys so much.